And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Okay, Thursday morning's flying weather map showing some IFR for the North Slope and Arctic coast. Also IFR out here over the central Bering Sea. With that storm coming in, we've got the front here pushing in toward Adak tomorrow morning. So IFR eastward across Atka Island, marginal VFR all the way up across the Alaska Peninsula, right on up into the Kuskokwim Valley, and some IFR over the eastern and southeast coast. And for Thursday, improving here for the Panhandle with lower conditions down to the south and southeast, and VFR showing up elsewhere. And some marginal VFR, central interior, IFR for the eastern Arctic coast into the North Slope, and then that front pushing IFR in toward the northern and north central Bering Sea to the Pribilof Islands, but improving here for Adak and Atka, and on to the west with some VFR. And then for the Friday morning time, that front pushing IFR here up into the southwest coast toward it, Nunivak Island for sure, and moving through the Pribilofs, probably near morning or shortly thereafter, some more IFR out toward the western Aleutians, IFR here for the Arctic coast, and over toward the eastern interior, say Eagle on up toward the Porcupine River and Old Crow. Those areas, VFR, southern Alaska, and not too bad for the Panhandle. Then that becomes a little more marginal here for the southeast coast in the afternoon on Friday, and staying nice here in the interior from the North Gulf Coast. Marginal VFR, some areas of IFR for the eastern, or actually the North Slope of the areas of IFR over the eastern Arctic coast. And now this front really elongating and weakening here, so a narrowing band of IFR from the northern Bering Sea right on down into Bristol Bay to Kodiak Island. Another system out here bringing some more IFR into the Bering Sea and the central Aleutians. Passes for tomorrow and the Tuvik and Atigan. Marginal VFR, Lake Clark and Merrill, VFR, and rainy as well. Windy, marginal VFR, could be some marginal VFR on the north side somewhere up there. And same thing for Isabel, VFR, and Mentesta, VFR. Tanita, marginal VFR, becoming VFR, and for Portage, VFR, Chilkoot and White, IFR becoming marginal. And for the freezing levels here, about 2,000 to 4,000 feet here over the central and southern southeast coast, but at the surface you can see down into the central areas tomorrow morning. Still south of Kodiak Island, cutting up here across the western Alaska Peninsula, and now nudging north of the Pribilof Islands. 2,000 feet there for Adak and Atka. As far as icing goes, considerable moderate rime icing shifting mostly into the Bering Sea here, and that'll definitely sweep over the Pribilof Islands, approach St. Matthew Island, but much lighter threats here over the eastern Aleutians. Icing free the remainder of the state, and the southeast coast here down over the southeastern portions still could see some considerable moderate icing there. And the jet stream here showing south flow across the Panhandle, not too strong for 33,000 feet though. Northwesterlies 75 or 70 to 85 knots there, cutting right across southern Cook Inlet, and then back up toward Norton Sound, and then back to south to north flow here out over the central Bering Sea, and more westerly for the western Aleutians. And at 9,000 feet, northeast winds 45 knots, pulling cold air southward here again, and northwest 50 knots there across the southwest interior, even a little stronger here around Kodiak Island. Upper level low trough here, keeping the winds lighter at 9,000 feet over the east side on up to the eastern Arctic coast. And southwest 50 knots for the northern Panhandle, 3,000 feet. Again, northerly winds, not all that strong though, much lighter than at 9,000 feet here at 3,000 feet. Getting a little brisk, with especially the outflow winds here into the Prince William Sound area, Kamishak Bay across the Barren Islands, and maybe through the Susitna and Manuska Valley areas. Otherwise, the strongest winds staying off the coast of the Panhandle. And then in advance of that front, we've got south to southeast winds, but the strongest winds out here will be up over the northern northwest Bering Sea, but still about 55 knots across the eastern Aleutians. And turbulence, considerable moderate turbulence. St. Matthew Island, the Pribilofs, down to the eastern Aleutians. This whole area is shifting from west to east throughout the day, so moving in toward Cold Bay. falls past King Cove and those areas. And also mechanical turbulence here, Kodiak Island, Barrens, south side of the Kenai Peninsula, Resurrection Bay on up into Prince William Sound.